The mystery behind one of the biggest acts of sabotage in modern history may finally be solved. After 3 years, German investigators say they've cracked the Nord Stream pipeline bombing case. But their findings are setting off political shockwaves across Europe, threatening to divide allies who once stood united. I'll have those details. Germany says it's finally cracked the Nord Stream case, and the answer that they've come up with is creating trouble for Europe's unity over the war in Ukraine. After a 3-year investigation, German detectives believe an elite Ukrainian military unit was behind the 2022 bombing of the Nord Stream pipelines. For background, the Nord Stream pipelines were twin undersea gas lines linking Russia to Germany. They were critical arteries for Europe's energy supply before the war. Their destruction in September of 2022 instantly cut off a major source of Russian gas, sent energy prices soaring across Europe, and marked the single largest man-made methane leak ever recorded. The findings, reported by the Wall Street Journal, claim the mission was carried out under the direction of Ukraine's former commander-in-chief, General Valery Zaluzhny, who's now serving as Ukraine's ambassador to the UK. Arrest warrants have now been issued for 7 Ukrainians, 3 soldiers and 4 divers, accused of planting the explosives along the Baltic Sea floor. One of the key suspects, only identified as Serhiy K., is a veteran of Ukraine's SBU security service and was tracked across Europe before ultimately being arrested in Italy. Germany wants him extradited to Hamburg for trial, but Italy hasn't decided whether it's going to comply yet. Meanwhile, Poland is flat out refusing to extradite another suspect, calling him a hero for striking a blow at Russia's war machine. That refusal set off a political chain reaction. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk mocked Berlin's investigation, saying the problem wasn't that the pipeline was blown up. The problem was that it was ever built. For Warsaw, Nord Stream symbolized everything wrong with Germany's past dependence on Russian gas. That hasn't landed well inside Germany, where the fallout is growing. The right-wing AfD party has seized on public frustration over energy prices and used the Nord Stream case to argue that Berlin's support for Ukraine is costing German households. Well, to be fair, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is costing Ukrainian households. Now, Germany's AfD party is campaigning to scale back aid to Kyiv. It's a direct challenge to Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who's trying to hold together both his coalition and public support for Ukraine's war effort. But even within Merz's government, officials admit the Nord Stream probe has become a diplomatic nightmare. Berlin has spent years positioning itself as one of Kyiv's biggest backers, providing tanks and air defense systems and billions in aid. Now, those same allies are watching as Germany prepares to put Ukrainian soldiers on trial. Across Europe, the reaction depends on where you sit. In Poland and the Baltics, many see the attack as a justified act of war, a strike that cut off Putin's cash flow and weakened his grip on Europe. In Germany, it's seen as a betrayal, an attack on European infrastructure carried out by a supposed ally. And as for Ukraine, well, the message is one of defiance. Zaluzhny himself dismissed the allegations online with a short response on Facebook, writing, quote, "We will still have fun, but we will definitely never be ashamed," end quote. Well, it was a reminder, apparently, that for Kyiv, the moral line was crossed when Russia invaded, not when pipelines were blown up. But here's the bigger picture. This investigation is exposing a rift in Europe's wartime alliance. What began as a story about sabotage is now a story about trust and how fragile that trust has become. When Nord Stream was destroyed, Western leaders pointed to Russia and rallied around Ukraine. Now, 3 years later, that same explosion is dividing the West, turning old grievances about energy dependence into new political fractures. Poland sees moral clarity. Germany sees a legal obligation to prosecute those that destroyed its critical energy infrastructure. Italy is caught in the middle, and Washington, though staying quiet publicly, knows that if the German case holds up, it complicates the entire Western narrative of the war. All right, Coming up next, billions in U.S. arms sales have been frozen by the government shutdown, while Europe scrambles to stop suspected Russian drones crowding EU skies and invading sensitive airspace. I'll be right back. Hey, Mike Baker here, PDB host and, as you may have heard, culinary expert and world-renowned foodie. Okay, I might be over-egging the pudding on those last two descriptions. I want to tell you, though, about an amazing company designed for foodies everywhere. Have you heard of this operation? It's called Goldbelly. It's an amazing business that celebrates the best of America by shipping the country's most iconic foods from legendary restaurants straight to your door, anywhere in the U.S. And now that we're in November, Goldbelly is the perfect option, frankly, for hosting Thanksgiving without the stress. And with Black Friday around the corner, it's also the perfect time to pre-order your holiday gifts. Now, I've ordered all sorts of great foods from Goldbelly. It's simple, it's quick, and it's delicious. With Thanksgiving, again, right around the corner, I'm looking at the desserts you can order on Goldbelly, including, get this, the 3-in-1 Pie Cakin'. It's a fun dessert that combines pecan pie, which is my favorite, pumpkin pie, and cake into one. You got to give this a go. It's the ultimate Thanksgiving centerpiece and something any family, frankly, would love. My kids would devour it. Everything from Goldbelly arrives fresh and beautifully packaged, and it will totally change how you think about ordering food online. So if you're looking for that perfect holiday gift, or you want to impress your friends and family with an epic Thanksgiving, go to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code PDB. Again, that's goldbelly.com, code PDB, for 20% off your first order. Welcome back to the PDB. The ripple effects of Washington's government shutdown are hitting the Pentagon's supply lines abroad, delaying billions in weapons exports meant to keep NATO allies and Ukraine armed. It's the kind of delay that could quickly turn into a significant problem. More than $5 billion in U.S. weapons transfers, from advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles to Aegis combat systems and high-mobility artillery rocket systems, or HIMARS, are now stuck in bureaucratic limbo, and that's according to a State Department estimate obtained by Axios. The shipments, bound for partners like Denmark and Croatia and Poland, were meant to keep Europe's defenses humming and Ukraine's front line supplied. Instead, they're sitting idle as the shutdown drags past day 40, a delay that one senior State Department official warned is, quote, really harming both our allies and partners and U.S. industry. Under normal conditions, these foreign military sales would breeze through Congress, reviewed under Arms Export Control Acts and approved with little controversy. But as we've been tracking, this isn't a normal stretch for Washington, D.C. With the State Department's Bureau of Political Military Affairs operating at roughly 25% staffing and key liaisons on ice, the approval pipeline has effectively jammed. The briefings that moved these details forward aren't happening, and what used to take days is now taking weeks. State Department spokesman Tommy Pigott put it bluntly, quote, Democrats are holding up critical weapons sales, including to our NATO allies, which harms the U.S. industrial base and puts our partners' security at risk, end quote. Senate Foreign Relations Chair James Risch backed him up, warning that the more days and weeks that the government stalls, the more ground Washington loses. He told Axios, quote, China and Russia aren't shut down. Their efforts to undermine the U.S. and our partners and allies get easier while needs go unmet, end quote. For the Trump administration, the stalled shipments represent more than a bureaucratic inconvenience. Officials say they threaten the White House's strategic tool of arming allies faster than adversaries can respond. Still, despite several Democrats breaking ranks over the weekend in order to reach the 60-40 vote that was needed to get the government closer to running, one single objection in the process could further stall arms shipments. And as that process drags on, Trump officials warn, coordination across Europe grows harder, especially as Russian forces step up their push in Ukraine's Donetsk region. The uncertainty has also fueled anxiety within the defense industry, which depends on steady export approvals to maintain production schedules and support the Pentagon's modernization programs that the Trump administration views as critical to keeping America and its allies one step ahead of adversaries. All right, Now, let's switch focus to Europe, where Britain is stepping up to help Belgium confront the wave of mysterious drone incursions, sending troops and anti-drone equipment to counter the aircraft, continuously disrupting airports, circling nuclear sites, and stirring fears of Russian hybrid warfare. Over the weekend, Air Chief Marshal Richard Knighton, the head of Britain's armed forces, confirmed what had been in the works for days. The UK is sending Royal Air Force specialists and equipment to Belgium at the request of Brussels. Knighton told the BBC, quote, "We don't know, and the Belgians don't yet know, the source of these drones, but we will help them by providing our kit and capability, which has already started to deploy," end quote. The United Kingdom's Defense Secretary, John Healey, framed the move as part of a broader push to tighten NATO's defenses. The UK, he said, is dispatching RAF experts, quote, to counter rogue drone activity, calling it a reminder that, quote, as hybrid threats grow, our strength lies in our alliances to defend, deter, and protect, end quote. As we've been tracking, the UK deployment comes amid a string of weekly, sometimes near daily, airspace violations that have most recently centered on Belgium, forcing its two busiest airports, Brussels and Liège, to temporarily close last week. Just days before the most recent temporary airport closures, Belgian authorities reported drones near a military base believed to store U.S. nuclear weapons. And on Sunday night, 5 more drones appeared over a nuclear power plant near Antwerp. A spokeswoman for the company managing the nuclear power plant said, quote, initially we had detected 3 drones, but then we saw 5. They were up in the air for about an hour. The company stressed that operations were not affected. Belgian Defense Minister Theo Franken called the incursions part of, quote, a spying operation that couldn't have been carried out by amateurs. While Belgium has stopped short of naming a culprit, its intelligence services repeatedly cite Russia as a suspect, a suspicion that's growing louder across Allied capitals. Drone sightings have swept across Europe for months, from Sweden to Denmark to the Baltic states, often appearing near NATO facilities or critical infrastructure. The incidents have reignited fears of a coordinated campaign of hybrid warfare, the kind meant to destabilize Western countries through sabotage and cyber attacks, all without firing a single shot. Belgium, meanwhile, sits squarely in the crosshairs. It's home to NATO headquarters, the European Union institutions, and Euroclear. That's the major financial clearinghouse holding tens of billions of euros in frozen Russian assets. As our regular listeners will recall, several EU states want to use those assets as collateral for loans to support Ukraine's post-war reconstruction. Still, Belgium resists those calls amid fears of Russian aggression, making it an obvious pressure point in Moscow's shadow war. Lithuania's foreign minister has gone further than most allies, accusing both Russia and Belarus of orchestrating, quote, calculated provocations designed to destabilize, distract, and test NATO's resolve. Back in October, Lithuania's government warned that any further unidentified drones or balloons entering its airspace from Belarus would be shot down, and they called for tougher NATO sanctions on Minsk. And the UK and Belgium aren't alone in this fight against the unidentified drones. France and Germany have also joined in, sending counter-drone teams to Brussels. Okay, coming up in the back of the brief, Japan's self-defense forces have been deployed in an unexpected mission, protecting citizens of Japan from a surge in deadly bear attacks. I'll have those details when we come back. Hey, Mike Baker here. Now, let's take a moment to talk about health, specifically maintaining your health as you get older. Look, you and I know this. Getting older does sneak up on you, right? Stiff joints after workouts, hair thinning out, right? And changes in a variety of ways. And that's why I'm genuinely pumped to tell you about Bubs Natural Collagen's peptides. Pay attention here. This is important. As you age, look, your body makes less collagen, which is an issue since collagen is essentially the glue that holds everything together. Bubs helps restore it, giving you stronger joints, healthier hair, nails, and quicker recovery. Look, I mix it into my morning coffee. It's tasteless, it dissolves straight away, and there's no fuss, no muss. And here's a real bonus. Bubs is also a tribute to Navy SEAL hero Glenn "Bub" Doherty, right? He died saving lives in Benghazi. I'm sure you know about his story. They donate 10% of profits to his foundation and to other important charities. Another great thing about Bubs, it's pure. It's grass-fed, there's no sugars or fillers, third-party tested, NSF certified for sport, Whole30 approved. Look, it's trusted by over 100,000 folks, and it's even been named the best collagen of 2024 by Health.com. And they have killer electrolytes and MCT creamer, all clean ingredients, and that's really important. Live better longer. For a limited time only, our PDB listeners are getting 20% off at Bubs Naturals by using code PDB at checkout. Just head over to Bubs, that's BUBS Naturals.com, and use code PDB, and you're all set. And after your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Tell them the PDB sent you. In today's Back of the Brief, Japan's armed forces have a brand new mission. They're helping fight off a nationwide surge in bear attacks. And yes, this is the first ever bear story on the president's daily brief. Now, at first glance, it just seems like a wacky or strange story ripe for bear puns. But for the people living in northern Japan, it's a very real problem. Since April, listen to this, since April there have been more than 100 injuries and at least a dozen deaths caused by bears, and that's the worst wave of attacks Japan has seen in decades, implying that there have been worse waves. Seriously, at least a dozen fatal bear attacks since April. In the hardest-hit region, Akita Prefecture, brown bears have been wandering out of the forests and into towns, rummaging through garbage, chasing livestock, and breaking into homes. Locals have been told to stay indoors after dark and carry bells, yes, bells, when they go outside to warn bears away. As a result, the government has now deployed the Japan Self-Defense Forces to assist local authorities. Soldiers aren't there to hunt the animals. They're just helping to set up traps, transport licensed hunters, and recover carcasses in areas too dangerous for civilians. It's the kind of deployment usually reserved for natural disasters, showing just how serious this has become. So, you ask yourself, what's driving the surge in bear attacks? Well, experts are saying it's a mix of climate change and demographics. Warmer seasons have disrupted the supply of acorns and beech nuts that bears rely on before hibernation, while Japan's rural population continues to shrink. Fewer farmers, fewer hunters, and fewer people maintaining the forests that once kept wildlife at a distance. The result? Well, you get hungry bears with nowhere to go and no one to stop them. In some towns, bears have been spotted near schools, train stations, and supermarkets, forcing the cancellation of public events and outdoor festivals. The government is now weighing emergency measures, including relaxing hunting restrictions and expanding surveillance programs to track bear movements. We'll keep an eye on this and provide you with further bear updates. And that, my friends, is the President's Daily Brief for Tuesday, the 11th of November. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. If you get a chance, also, do me a favor and check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find that on YouTube, oddly enough, at President's Daily Brief. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back later today with the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. And please, again, remember, thank a veteran. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool. Hey, Mike Baker here, with a message from our friends over at Birch Gold Group. Well, it is that time of year again. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? It's the one time of year that Birch Gold Group gives away free gold with every qualifying purchase. That's right. And for Black Friday, when you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, Birch Gold will send you free gold for every $20,000 purchased. Look, gold started this year around, $2,600 an ounce? And by October, it was over $4,000 an ounce. You ask yourself why? Well, in a nutshell, global uncertainty. 2025 has been defined by trade wars, real wars, and general uneasiness. And central banks are pulling away from the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. Here's a fact. Gold thrives in times of uncertainty. And if you're looking to diversify your savings, then Birch Gold can help you. Plus, now through November 30th, get free gold with a qualifying purchase. Just text PDB to 989-898 to claim your eligibility and for a free information kit on gold. And remember, your opportunity for free gold with qualifying purchases ends on November 30th. So don't wait. Just text PDB to 989-898 to claim your eligibility and for a free information kit on gold. And remember, your opportunity for free gold with qualifying purchases ends on November 30th. So don't wait. Text PDB to the number 989-898.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.